Palpatine's empire was built on the projection of power and fear. And yet, behind the elaborate machinations of the behemoth of the empire, more subtle but no less powerful organizations worked behind the scenes to secure the emperor's iron will over the galaxy. Just as secular politics recognized the emperor as the head of state, and departments such as the Stormtrooper Corps or the Imperial Security Bureau served his aims, so too Palpatine the Sith Lord had occult entities made to secure his power as an instrument of the dark side of the Force. The general public would have no knowledge of these shadowy organizations, but they were no less instrumental to the Emperor's aims than any other mechanism of government he held. 3 such notable organizations were the Prophets of the Dark Side, the Inquisitorius, and the Emperor's Hand, secret groups made to secure and perpetuate Palpatine's rule.
You are listening to the Star Lords Podcast. I find your lack of faith disturbing.
Are you stuck-up, half-witted, scruffy-looking nerf herder?
But I was going into Toshi Station to pick up some power converters.
The Inquisitorius.
The Inquisitorius, also known as the Imperial Inquisition, was a secret division of Imperial intelligence consisting of dark side, Force-sensitive agents known as Inquisitors, sometimes also as Inquisitioners or Truth Officers. Under the control of Palpatine and Darth Vader, these Inquisitors were considered the highest ranking of the dark side adepts, outranking the Emperor's Hands, Prophets of the Dark Side, and lesser Dark Jedi. Reporting directly to the Emperor or the Supreme Commander, they were officially classified as part of Imperial intelligence, however, still outranked a bulk of the Galactic Empire's ranks.
Creation. The Inquisitorius, established around 19 BBY by Emperor Palpatine and Lord Vader, was a covert organization of Imperial intelligence agents tasked with hunting down surviving Jedi following Order 66. Potential recruits underwent a stringent selection process, scrutinized first by Imperial intelligence, then by the Grand Inquisitor, and ultimately by the Sith Lords themselves. Candidates had to demonstrate both considerable power and unwavering loyalty. While many Jedi perished during the Great Jedi Purge, some, like Antinous Tremian and Jarek, defected from their order to join the ranks of the Inquisitorius and the Emperor's Darkside adepts. Inquisitors were charged with capturing Jedi and compelling them to embrace the dark side and serve Emperor Palpatine's new order, and those who resisted faced elimination. Additionally, Inquisitors scoured the galaxy for non-Jedi Force users to bolster Palpatine's influence.
The Inquisitor's primary function centered around interrogating Jedi and other Resistance individuals. Subjects were procured for them through LAAC docs authorization. When conventional methods like torture and Bavo 6 injections proved ineffective, Imperial intelligence enlisted Inquisitors. These agents wielded formidable Force abilities alongside manipulative tactics to achieve success. Additionally, speculation arose that some Inquisitors were former Jedi themselves. Despite Imperial intelligence's proficiency in typical interrogations, Inquisitors often dedicated their efforts to locating potential Jedi candidates in remote regions of the Galactic Empire, particularly the Outer Rim territories, under the direction of their leader, the Grand Inquisitor. Malorum, the initial Grand Inquisitor, met his end on Naboo at the hands of Ferrus Olin. He was succeeded by the mysterious Hydra, who nearly discovered Princess Leia Organa's Force sensitivity on Alderaan. Subsequent Grand Inquisitors, Lord Ladinair Torbin, perished in an attack on Weirden. Initially based on Coruscant, the Inquisitorius later relocated to the Senate Tower under Hydra's leadership, before establishing the Citadel Inquisitorius on Prakith in the Deep Core. This foreboding citadel served as a prison for captured Jedi and a hub for high-level inquisitorial operations, although it was breached on occasion by allies of Bail Organa. In 18 BBY, all Inquisitors wore distinctive dark maroon zade cloth robes, symbolizing blood, although this uniformity may have evolved over time. They utilized ultrachrome protection and Tauzin amulets, which created a Force-sensitive void to evade detection by other Force users. Due to their clandestine nature within Imperial intelligence, the Inquisitors were seldom mentioned in official military manuals like the Imperial Handbook, a commander's guide. Luke Skywalker, a Force-sensitive individual, speculated that the Sith concealed the agency due to its Force-related activities, questioning if even the Imperial military fully trusted them. In addition to lightsabers, Inquisitors employed a variety of weapons for intimidation, including vibroblades, electrostaffs, DX-2 disruptor pistols, and DXR-6 disruptor rifles. The Inquisitors' duty extended beyond Force matters. They were also involved in awakening Arden Lynn after her millennia-long slumber. Inquisitor Valen Draco played a role in the Sarlacc project, overseeing the development of a prototype superstar destroyer, illustrating the organization's diverse responsibilities.
Organization and hierarchy. The Inquisitorius was composed of a number of ranks by order of importance: the Grand Inquisitor, High Inquisitors, Chief Inquisitors, Just Inquisitors, and Apprentice Inquisitors. Legacy.
Following Emperor Palpatine's initial demise at the Battle of Endor, internal power struggles within the Inquisitorius bureaucracy ensued as factions vied for control amid uncertainty over a successor. Despite this, some loyal dark-side adherents remained steadfast, anticipating the eventual return of the Dark Lord of the Sith. Amidst these developments, numerous Inquisitors aligned themselves with the Pentastar alignment, assuming titles such as Great Inquisitor of Justice. High Inquisitor Jarek, for instance, sought dominion over the Valley of the Jedi, but was thwarted by Jedi Kyle Katarn. After the final demise of Emperor Palpatine, surviving Inquisitors dispatched Brachus, a former apprentice, to infiltrate Luke Skywalker's Jedi Praxium on Yavin 4. Though Skywalker identified Brachus's true intentions, he hoped to redeem him. Brachus, however, ultimately abandoned the Inquisitorius to join forces with Kueller, sharing critical intelligence about the Praxium before disappearing. In subsequent years, Brachus founded the Shadow Academy, under the Second Imperium, mirroring the Inquisitorius' mission to train Darksiders.
Prophets of the Dark Side. The Prophets of the Dark Side, were also known as the Secret Order of the Emperor, emerged as an ancient dark-side cult on Dromund Kaas, a planet in the Outer Rim, once capital of the reconstituted Sith Empire. Founded by Darth Millennial, a renegade Dark Lord of the Sith, they can be seen as a faction that splintered from the Order of the Sith Lords. Trained in the dark side of the Force, the Prophets possessed the ability to foresee potential future outcomes. During the Galactic Empire era, they were led by Kadan, the Supreme Prophet, and were all distinguished by black beards and gleaming black robes. Following Palpatine's demise, they wielded significant influence within the remnants of the Empire. Among their many predictions, the Prophets claimed to have foreseen the exact times and places of both Death Star's destruction by the Rebel Alliance, and they employed any means necessary to ensure their prophecies came to pass. As the Secret Order integrated into the Empire, the term Emperor's Mage became synonymous with a true prophet of the dark side, recruited by Palpatine himself. It's important to distinguish these authentic prophets from their imposters, the false prophets, who collectively formed the Church of the Dark Side. Formation and discovery.
Darth Millennial, a renegade Sith who defied Darth Bane's rule of two, founded the Dark Force religion on Dromund Kaas. The Prophets of the Dark Side made their home in the highest tower of the Dark Force Temple, an ancient Sith temple situated in a quagmire that had been a battleground during the Light and Darkness War, serving as a nexus of the dark side. In 100 BBY, a faction of the Prophets settled on the nearby moon of Kalikar 6, where they later briefly resurrected Darth Maul in 0 BBY. Years later, Palpatine discovered the planet and subjugated the Prophets to his cause, keeping the existence of Dromund Kaas hidden. The Dromund system was among 36 systems purged from the Jedi archives, a fact Yoda uncovered after the revelation that Kamino had also been expunged. Yoda was rumored to have visited the Dromund system, but any records of his journey were lost during the Great Jedi Purge. During the Clone Wars, Separatist forces under the command of Dark Acolyte Asajj Ventress clashed with the 327th Star Corps in the Battle of Dromund Kaas. Ventress gained an advantage by leveraging intelligence provided by the Prophets of the Dark Side. Prior to the Jedi Purge, Palpatine appointed the Dark Jedi Kadan as Supreme Prophet of the Dark Side. In Imperial Center, Kadan rose to become one of the Emperor's most trusted advisors, with his apprentice Jedgar assuming the role of High Prophet of the Dark Side. When Supreme Prophet Kadan prophesied that balance would be restored to the Force at Endor, Palpatine scorned him and flew into a rage. In response, most of the true prophets fled to Kadan's concealed temple stronghold on Bos Thirda, abandoning Imperial Center and Dromund Kaas.
Servants of the Empire. Palpatine dispatched numerous dark-side adherents, including Azrakel, Grand Admiral Neil Declan, and Inquisitor Jarek, to Dromund Kaas for training under the Prophets. During his studies there, Jarek first encountered the legend of the Valley of the Jedi from Prophet Chronal, and met Chronal's daughter, Ceres. Supreme Prophet Kadan groomed Azrakel as a covert weapon against Palpatine and Darth Vader, but Azrakel eventually turned against Kadan, abandoning him before the Battle of Endor. The prophets extended their reach across various planets. For instance, Ceres operated undercover as a prophetess on Tatooine. Marique Steele, one of their agents, was appointed as an Emperor's Hand, remaining loyal to their cause and rising to the distinguished rank of Emperor's Reach. Palpatine frequently consulted the prophets to validate his own foresight, with only his most trusted advisors aware of the existence of the Emperor's mages. When mocked by Grand Admiral Afshin Makate's first officer, Kadan retaliated by unleashing Force lightning. The prophets frequently dispatched Ceres and others to confer with Jarek aboard the Superstar Destroyer Vengeance. The Secret Order of the Emperor, an elite group comprising of Emperor's mages and their operatives, conducted clandestine missions. Mages operated incognito, identifying Force-sensitive individuals like Marique Steele and offering them the choice to serve the Emperor through covert assignments. These missions, crucial to advancing the Emperor's dark side objectives, often involved assassination and intelligence gathering. The Order's original hierarchy consisted of Supreme Prophets, High Prophets, Lesser Prophets, and Minions, and later included First Initiates, progressing through Second, Third, and Fourth circles, culminating in titles such as Emperor's Hand, Eyes, Voice, and Reach. Successful agents like Steele were elevated to become Emperor's Hands by Palpatine himself. Kadan led the Order until shortly before the Battle of Endor, when the true prophets severed ties with Palpatine and retreated to their sanctuary on Bos Thurida. Following their separation from the Empire, former prophet Chronal adopted the guise of Emperor's Hand, Black Hole, and founded the Church of the Dark Side. This institution, marked by public visibility, was a mockery of the secretive order, as the true prophets disassociated themselves from imperial affairs, aligning solely with the dark side of the Force. The Church of the Dark Side.
After the Battle of Endor and Palpatine's death, several mages embarked on divergent paths. Chronal, now known as the Emperor's Hand, aka Black Hole, became a devoted servant of the resurrected Emperor. He established the Church of the Dark Side on Coruscant and transformed Gork and Pick into the, quote, Brothers of the Sin, who later became Dark Jedi apprentices under Jarek. Meanwhile, after the population of Tatooine rebelled following the destruction of the second Death Star, Ceres fled and aligned herself with Jarek, becoming one of his Dark Jedi apprentices. She manipulated events on Panatha, engaging with Mineral Baron and ultimately orchestrating the murder of his son, Yun, whom she had taught in the ways of the Church of the Dark Side, in order to deliver both the Baron's holdings and Yun himself to Jarek. In contrast, Marique Steele joined the 181st Imperial Fighter Wing and later served in the Imperial Remnant under the Grand Admiral Gilad Pellaeon in the Outer Rim. Marilee acted as an advisor to Grand Admiral Pakati Sin within the Church of the Dark Side, perishing alongside him when his flagship was destroyed by Admiral Giel Akbar at Kashyyyk. Following the Battle of Endor, Chronal's establishment of the Church of the Dark Side received official sanction from acting Emperor Sate Pestage, and covert support from Emperor Palpatine after his resurrection. Instituted by Imperial intelligence, of which Chronal, a former prophet turned Emperor's Hand, was a prominent member, the Church operated as a propaganda tool. Unlike the Secret Order, the Church included not only former true prophets like Chronal, Ceres, and Marilee, but also a cadre of false prophets who were essentially Imperial intelligence agents aiding the Central Committee of Grand Moffs in controlling a significant portion of the Imperial remnants. These imposters, impersonating figures like Kadan, Jedgar, and Gornash, operated from Scardia Station in the Null Zone and traveled aboard a vessel named Scardia Voyager. These false prophets lacked true force sensitivity and relied on manipulation to fulfill their prophecies. Their most notorious prediction involved the indestructible glove of Darth Vader, which they claimed would be worn by the next Emperor. This prophecy led to the rise of Trioculus, a three-eyed mutant and Imperial slave master on Kessel, who was falsely presented as Palpatine's son and crowned Emperor. However, their attempts to seize control of Imperial Center from Ysain Isard failed, resulting in their retreat back to Scardia Station. Grand Admiral Makati, who held a personal vendetta against the false Kadan, eventually trapped and destroyed Scardia Station, along with its inhabitants, including the imposter prophets.
Valley of the Jedi. Jedgar foresaw the deceit of the false prophets, but was prohibited by the true Kadan from taking actions against them, as Kadan himself had already foreseen their downfall. The authentic prophets regarded Palpatine as their adversary for disregarding Kadan's prophecies, and they condemned Kronal as a turncoat for becoming an Emperor's hand instead of joining them on Both Srida. Disregarding the maneuvers of the Central Committee of Moffs, the true prophets reached out to Jarek, now a great Inquisitor of Judgment, for the Penastar alignment. Jarek agreed to pursue the Lost Valley of the Jedi on behalf of the prophets, while covertly claiming to do so for the alignment. Shortly thereafter, Emperor's Hand Black Hole, previously an Emperor's Mage and Cyrus's father, contacted Jarek, informing him of the clone Emperor on Biss, and requesting his aid in searching for the valley on behalf of the Emperor. Jarek agreed, concealing from Black Hole that he was already searching for the valley on behalf of both the alignment and the true prophets. In reality, Jarek's loyalty lay solely with himself, envisioning to harness the valley's power to dominate his three sponsors and seize the throne as Emperor. Utilizing resources from all sides, Jarek eventually discovered the valley in Ruusan. However, he was ultimately slain by Kyle Katarn, who kept the valley's location secret, thwarting the true prophets, who remained hidden, patiently awaiting a sign heralding their return. 6 years after the Battle of Endor, Kyle Katarn delved into the ancient dark side inscriptions and learned of Dromund Kaas and ventured there, only to succumb to the dark side himself. Mara Jade followed Kyle and found him in the Dark Force Temple, where she redeemed him. Together with Luke Skywalker, they unraveled the history of Dromund Kaas. The Jedi and New Republic intelligence collaborated to safeguard the planet's secrecy. The prophets met their demise when Dark Lady Lumia and her apprentice Cornor Jax, aided by the Dark Warrior Azrakel, launched a vengeful assault on their headquarters. Azrakel's fierce onslaught claimed the lives of several prophets, including Kadan himself. Shortly thereafter, Lumia and Jax arrived and proceeded to eliminate the remaining prophets. The Emperor's Hand.
The Emperor's Hand, known by various names, including the Hand of the Emperor and simply the Hand, formed an elite and secretive sect within the Galactic Empire and later the Imperial Remnant. Answerable solely to the Empire's leader, they undertook covert operations exceeding the highest levels of Imperial command. Emperor Palpatine created these agents to execute missions considered impossible, clandestine, or both. targeting rogue governors, treacherous commanders, rebellious leaders, and other internal or external threats.
Formation. Before rising to the position of Galactic Emperor, Palpatine employed a variety of assassins, spies, and operatives to achieve his objectives as Sith Lord Darth Sidious. Notably, Darth Maul, trained specifically to eliminate Jedi, but proven effective in broader roles, demonstrated to Palpatine the value of highly loyal, capable, and secretive agents. This realization prompted Palpatine to establish the Emperor's hands as operatives rather than mere apprentices. Throughout his reign, Palpatine utilized the Emperor's hands to eliminate adversaries in situations where his more visible tools, such as Darth Vader or the Imperial Navy, would be inadequate or too conspicuous, or inappropriate. Their targets typically included rogue governors, traitorous commanders, rebellious leaders, and other significant threats, whether internal or external. While the exact number of agents remains undisclosed, many former Emperor's hands became independent threats to the New Republic following Palpatine's death. Among the most notable were Lumia and Mara Jade, who diverged greatly in their subsequent paths. Lumia went on to establish her own Sith faction, whereas Mara Jade found redemption as a master within the New Jedi Order. She eventually married Luke Skywalker, despite her earlier vow to avenge Palpatine's demise and the Empire's downfall. By 40 ABY, figures like Mara Jade were renowned as the foremost assassins of their time, a viewpoint potentially influenced by Ben Skywalker's profound admiration for his mother. In 44 ABY, Imperial Head of State Jagged Fell reinstated the former Emperor's hands under the title of the Imperial Hand. This move granted his bodyguard, Tahiri Vela, authority to lead a crucial raid on Hagamore III. Recruitment and training.
Palpatine frequently targeted infants who showed potential as Emperor's hands, closely monitoring their development until maturity. He preferred to begin their training only after they had proven impressive to him. Some started as thieves, warriors, assassins, or entertainers, each demonstrating resourcefulness, skill, and loyalty without invoking his wrath. Once selected, an Emperor's hand underwent extensive training in combat techniques, intelligence gathering, and assassination. Operating independently, each hand often believed they were the sole hand of the Emperor. During their training, Palpatine nurtured their latent Force abilities without providing explicit Jedi or Sith teachings, ensuring that those without prior Force training weren't strictly aligned with the dark side. A crucial ability was their direct telepathic link to Palpatine, enabling communication across vast distances. On occasion, Palpatine assigned the training of an Emperor's hand to the prophets of the dark side. Unaware, skeptical, or indifferent to the Emperor's true motives, the hands dutifully carried out their missions, driven by unwavering loyalty to Palpatine. They justified their actions as protecting the Empire's citizens from its most dangerous adversaries, though often their targets were political foes rather than rogue commanders or governors. Nearly all hands believed they held a unique position, fostering a special bond with the Emperor. Due to their profound loyalty and Force-mediated mental connection, many hands were profoundly affected by Palpatine's demise. Many hands proved to be formidable threats after the fall of the Empire, as they used their great influence and own personal prowess to become warlords or seek revenge against the New Republic.
Shadow Operatives. Upon receiving the title of Emperor's Hand, the agent gained almost unrestricted access and authority to carry out their missions. Emperor's Hands could assume control over military units, starships, or weapons as needed. Their existence was known only to the highest ranks of the Imperial command structure to maintain their efficacy. Agents employed varied methodologies depending on the mission, from silent sniper operations to devastating frontal assaults. Regardless of approach, each hand operated like a specter, striking swiftly and then disappearing, which elevated their reputation to near mythic status among those who defied the Emperor. The organization was so secret that operatives did not even know of the existence of others. Each operative was made to feel unique in their role, elevated to be something special and singular to the Emperor, and not yet more tools in Palpatine's seemingly endless chest of inexhaustible resources.
Now a word from our sponsors.
Greetings, Sentient. Were you, a loved one, or someone you know affected by Order 66? If so, then you may be entitled to financial compensation. Here at Slusk & Sons, our specially trained staff are waiting to help you get the settlement you deserve. Dial 1 Sith Happens on your personal communicator to schedule an appointment today.
Hello again, and welcome aboard the Millennial Falcon. This is Christian.
And this is Jordan.
And we're currently not going to disclose our location because of the particular subject matter that we're discussing, and we don't want to make ourselves targets for any operatives that might be listening. And
Indeed. And that's why we got Sith insurance to protect ourselves in these unfortunate events, so that our families would be provided for. Also, what big shout out to TJ again, providing us with another
glorious ad.
A great ad. One of my favorites, this one. So yeah, anyways, but a little bit of housekeeping. We'll do the housekeeping at the top and get into the discussion. I want to thank all of our supporting listeners, including all our Patreon members. So if you want to become a patron, you can sign up at patreon.com/starlores, and for $3 a month, you can get access to all the bonus content that we have there, and a couple of the exclusive groups in Facebook and on Discord. You can also do I'm putting up single buys of bonus episodes. So if you want to just listen to a single episode rather than sign up for recurring payment, you can definitely do that. Again, it's just $3 per episode. Also, you can subscribe on on Spotify for $3 per month, about the same. But all you get there is the bonus episodes. But I know some people prefer just going through that because it's all one payment. Also want to thank our new patrons. We got a couple new ones, Jamie and Ian. I can't remember if I mentioned Ian last week, but if I did, you get shouted out twice, buddy. So
remember that when we call for a favor.
Exactly. If you want to become a patron, sign up, support the show, keep this bucket of bolts flying. And you can also do single donations to PayPal, starlorespodcast@gmail.com. If you just wanted to give us a little tip or whatever, say you support the show, that you like what we do, you can do single donations of any amount to starlorespodcast@gmail.com on PayPal. Also, we have merchandise now. Check out all our stuff on Redbubble. We have some pretty cool graphics. We also have our logo and all that, and you can get it on mug, stickers,
shirts, hats.
Yeah, shirts, hat. And we have some cool in-universe companies, let's call
brands
them.
We want to work with.
Yeah, exactly.
For fictional money.
I think you guys will enjoy them. So link is in the description of the show. Go to the Redbubble, click on the Redbubble link, and then you can see our store. We have some more coming on the way that we're working on.
Yeah, I was going to mention there's some more stuff in the works. So if
Yeah,
there's
so
nothing
just-
there that really appeals to you, come back and check again in a bit.
Yeah, and we'll keep putting up more as we go, as we have more ideas. Anyways, yeah, so if you want to support monetarily, that's how you can do it through all those mediums. You can buy some merch, single donation, subscribe on Patreon or Spotify to help keep the show going. If you, no problem at all if you don't want to monetarily support the show. I get it. I listen to a lot of pods that I don't pay for. I just get them for free because I'm a freeloader. I do support a couple though, but if you want to rate and review the show, that also really helps the show get to a wider audience, as well as sharing the show. Share it in groups that you're part of. Share, especially online groups. We find a lot of people find us through there. In online discords, if you think it's appropriate for those groups, totally share an episode that you might think would appeal to people. And then you can also follow us on social media. You can get in touch with us. We are on Discord, Instagram, X, and Facebook. All those links will be in the description of the show, and you can just click on them and sign up there. We're also on YouTube as well, so subscribe on YouTube. We're trying to grow it a little bit. I'm trying to work on some video stuff, but I haven't got anything. It's an episode and a picture, and that's the whole thing we got on YouTube. But I want to do some more, maybe like shorts, YouTube shorts. And
Yeah, we're still exploring the area. But.
Yeah, so. And work on our YouTube a little more. But yeah, anyways, yeah, we're on all of those. You can if you just Google us as well. If you just Google Star Lords or Star Lords podcast, all of our stuff will pop up. So, but yeah, if you wanted to submit any sort of fan fiction, a picture of your collection, a picture of your cosplay, anything like that, we love to get that kind of stuff, and sometimes we'll share it if we can. You can submit that to us by DMing us on any of the socials I mentioned, or you can email us at starlordspodcast@gmail.com. Just get in touch with us. Let us know what you think. Join the conversation. The Discord's pretty active, so I know a lot of people prefer to talk on there. Yeah. Anyways, also the last couple episodes, our in-universe ads have been from one of our listeners. So if you have any ideas, you can either send us a script or a recording. If you do a recording, please try and at least have an actual even USB mic that you're using to record. If you're just recording off like your computer or phone's internal microphone, the quality probably won't be good enough for us to put on. But if you do have a microphone you can use, then definitely. If not, you could just send us your idea with a script and we can record it as well. So you don't necessarily have to record it. And also any corrections or comments on any of the episodes, feel free to send them in. If you're upset that we trash Disney too much, there's just nothing I can do for you. I'm sorry.
At this point, I'm just disappointed in you.
This just may not be the place for you. I'm sorry. I've always said nothing wrong if you're a big Disney stan. You be you go do your thing, but that's not what we do here. Okay. Anyways, yes. I think that covers it all, Christian.
Yeah. And with that, talking about Disney, let's dive right into it. That's my first point here.
Yeah. Darth Disney.
Yes. So specifically talking secret organizations kind of working behind the scenes of the Empire. You have the Inquisition or the Inquisitorius, which has featured prominently most recently in like a lot of Disney works. But its roots and origins come from legends. They had always existed there. Not quite in the same way, but they definitely were.
Yeah.
An original Legends invention
that
was lifted. There's obviously some distinctions, but there's a lot of overlap as well. You have a lot of like former Jedi who get recruited into the Inquisition in the Disney canon. They're a lot more kind of uniform and have like a very structured organization with the Grand Inquisitor, and they have they call themselves brothers and sisters based on their rank and number. Yeah. That, of course, is not in the Legends universe, but they do that same kind of recruitment strategy sometimes.
Right. And there is
not exclusively.
There is like some of that Clone Wars stuff as well too. That is like, is it Legends or is it Disney?
Yeah, it kind of sits in that. Weird.
It's probably it's maybe both. It lands on both, but
yeah. But there are some distinctions from the Legends Inquisition, notably that they're not all exclusively recruited Dark Jedi.
Yeah.
Their role is a lot more to interrogate and hunt down Jedi survivors, and then from there they decide what to do with them. But like, if you're really good at interrogating Jedi through regular torture techniques, I'm sure the Inquisition has a place for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it just makes sense, right? Like using the Force to manipulate and break people's minds is like, obviously, that's an obvious use case, especially if
you work for the CIA. I mean, the Inquisition. Of course, the good guys. Yeah.
Bringing freedom and democracy to the galaxy.
Freedom and security to our new empire. Yes. Just another note, obviously the Inquisition draws its name and general ideas from like the real life Inquisition, which is not good. However, I will say it's very historically misunderstood. I think it's become very memed.
Yeah.
Like it's become a historical meme. But the actual Inquisition like spanned a very long period of history. It took on many forms. It still kind of exists today in a different
and like
aspect.
Fraternal orders and stuff like that. Yeah.
All that kind of stuff. But I just wanted to give a shout out to the historical obvious inspiration. But yeah, go look it up, go look into it. Like I said, there's a lot of like legend mixed with fact. And it's sometimes good just to demystify history sometimes.
Yeah, and you know, history is just never black and white. Like, like a lot of people want to write it, and that it is almost pretty much with everything. It's hard to like, you know, you kind of, the devil's always in the details, right? It's like this isn't as straightforward as like your like grade 5 history would have you believe.
Yeah, exactly. So just like I said, just a nod to the real history. A little bit of influence of the occult. I kind of read into it, and I could be totally off base, but kind of with especially the prophets of the dark side, you have this like split between like the church and the church of the dark side and the true prophets, and the church being like this very like institutional political organization. I kind of got Satanism vibes from it, where you have kind of like,
well, the Church of the Dark Side or whatever.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
the Church of Satan.
Yeah, it's kind of the Church of Satan.
I don't know if our listeners are familiar with Satanism generally, but the kind of Satanism that's like very popularized, kind of like the Anton LaVey wing of the Satanic Church or the Satanic Temple, isn't actually really about Satan worship. It's more about edgy atheism more than anything. There's a less, it's not that they actually believe in a satanic figure. It's more so that they just believe in like individual power and will to power. More than anything.
There's also something I thought was just interesting, and I have actually read a few books about like intel agencies, and there's this really interesting. So the CIA, they are not completely unfamiliar with the occult themselves, and they have certainly dabbled in a lot of those circles, including like one. I don't think he was part of the CIA, but he worked for like the U.S. sort of top secret weapons development and rocket technology, and his name was Jack Parsons, and he was like a major occultist, like very open occultist, and alleged that a lot of his ideas for his technology came from like these
otherworldly source.
These occult powers that he would tap into, right? And there's Jack Parsons is just like the biggest name, but there's a lot of other names. But I thought it was like kind of interesting how there is this sort of like, even in the Star Wars universe, there's this crossover between the occult and intelligence,
Yeah.
you know.
And you have like a secular front, and then
Exactly. Like one of it, the public facing is just like, it's just for security. It's just like intelligence gathering.
Yeah.
And then but like behind
in the background, they're
scenes,
sacrificing
yeah,
goats.
yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I find that whole topic like incredibly fascinating, but it is interesting, you know, like how you can't really avoid it because you're using like literally space magic. It's the dark side, so like how could you avoid it, right? But it does sort of like, if you have those dark side powers, that obviously makes you like a prime candidate to be person who gathers intelligence, carries out espionage, carries out sabotage,
even be able to see the
assassination.
future.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like that would be like a great tool to have in those operations.
Yeah, and people kind of like scoff at these ideas like in real life, like, oh, it's conspiracy theory and stuff. But there's also like projects like the CIA has conducted in the past, where they looked into like, and whether or not anything came from those operations, at least it was of interest enough for those organizations to pursue it as an area. Same with the KGB. Even the Nazis experimented a lot with occultism. If you get into a lot of their higher ranking officers and things. So it's like this pervasive thing that has existed along with like these big government institutions for a very long time, regardless of whether, I'm not saying they're all the same, but it has been an area of interest for big intelligence for a long time.
Absolutely. And I mean, even it is interesting on that note. It seems like it's particularly during Stalin's time, he was actually like the most against any sort of religious or claims of supernatural claims. And he, from what I understand, he kind of kicked a lot of those people out of the Soviet Union who were kind of more occultists, who were also connected with like their intelligence operations and stuff. And he didn't like any of that, but all the Western, like Germany was doing it, the Western world was doing it, like, and
post Stalin, like the KGB of like the 1960s and 70s.
So when Stalin left, then it kind of came back.
Quote unquote left.
Passed away. Sadly passed away.
Disavow.
Stalin, you know, say what you will about him, but he actually was sort of like true to his principles to an extent, right?
Communism is supposed to be like secular.
Exactly. Materialistic, a scientific view, quote unquote scientific like view of humanity, right? And he, you know, I think he maybe more believed that than perhaps most other communist leaders, and that might be unfortunate as well. So
but like I said, also just beyond the interest, and I'm not saying one way or the other if they found anything or if it led to anything, but just the fact that it was of interest enough for them to bother looking into.
Totally.
And that's also like a part of the Cold War of like, we are looking for literally any way, if it's science or magic, to be able to defeat the opposite side. So
and now in your research for this episode, did you find like, because a lot of people make claims, especially about anything pop culture, you'll hear like a lot of people make claims that Star Wars is just like sort of occultic ritual magic, or that it's like that's where it's really born out of. It's not just this fantasy world.
I didn't look at like outside of universe kind of areas, so I'm certain there's someone out there that might think something along those lines. I didn't encounter it myself. But again, I wasn't really looking for it either.
Fair enough.
But that might be an area of interest for maybe a future episode. I personally
like occult influence on the creation of Star Wars.
Like from a real world perspective. That being said, I don't know. Like there's always like influences. Like we mentioned very early on in one of our first Sith episodes, kind of like, again, that draw on almost Satanism about like hedonism and like the will to power and that kind of thing. I think some philosophies kind of overlap with what becomes the occult, and the occult really is just,
I think it's hard,
a system of belief.
Yeah, right? I think it's hard not to make those connections too, just because that's the milieu you grow up in.
Right, exactly. So that's what I'm saying. Like,
if you want to make something dark and scary,
you're going to draw on elements that have that appearance in the real world.
Like what? Oh, what's sorry, the name's slipping me. Like Cthulhu, the guy who wrote.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe
he's like Robert E. Howard's friend.
Yeah.
The fact that I know Robert E. Howard
And not the, yeah.
is a more famous. That's a whole thing in itself too. One day I want to do a Robert E.
Oh,
Howard.
yeah. People accused him of being an occultist too, right?
Howard?
Yeah.
Again, I think it was more like just a passing thing because his story is like Conan. Total derailment, but I have to do this because I'm a huge Conan the Barbarian fan. Conan is very anti-magic, like the character.
Right.
He's like scared of and doesn't trust anything that is associated with magic.
Yeah.
Whether or not that's Howard's own personal views, but Conan being depicted as a hero, it takes a very like antagonistic form against it. I've never seen anything about him being openly into any kind of occult practice.
H.P. Lovecraft.
Lovecraft.
Yeah,
How
sorry.
could we forget?
Yeah, I know. But yeah, okay, cool. So yeah, and just like, Lovecraft obviously has influenced the whole modern aesthetic of like the horror genre, sort of like
the mysticism and occultism.
Hollywood depictions of
robed like cultists.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah.
Occultism.
Yeah. I think it's like a kind of a fascinating subject. And I do kind of love like just the depictions of it in the Star Wars universe, and like the legends, like these secret orders, clandestine behind the scenes. Are they real? Is it a conspiracy theory? Also another thing that is kind of awesome is how like Palpatine hides the fact that other emperors' hands exist to make them feel like they're special.
Yeah.
This is like
typical Palpatine.
Well, this is like typical cult leader practices.
That's
too,
true. Yeah.
Right. Like a lot of cult leaders will like they'll like love bomb people and make them feel like they're
unique and exceptional
this unique special person that but they do that to like everyone.
Yeah.
Especially in like sex cults, right? Like and that's how they like manipulate people. So it is like a very cult like behavior.
Practice,
yeah. So
and it also has like the dual effect of like making that person becoming more loyal because they think they're the only one.
Yeah.
Right. So
absolutely.
Yeah. Side note, looks like Robert E. Howard did have more than a passing interest in theosophy and occultism.
I thought he did, yeah.
It makes, like, if he's friends with Lovecraft, it would make sense. But in any case, I'm a big fan of pulp
for sure.
literature.
Yeah, for sure.
Star Wars is kind of pulpy, too. It draws on pulpy themes and aspects.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Another interesting note, to just talking about all these different organizations, is kind of after the Emperor, the central figure, dies or goes away, all this infighting ensues with all these different groups vying for power. A lot of the hands become very prominent, like Lumia, the Dark Lady. We'll do an episode on her. But they become very influential. Mara Jade is very powerful. She becomes more influential because she converts and actually marries Luke Skywalker.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, Palpatine creates all these secret instruments, and when he's gone, they all kind of kill each other. Sorry, we just had a youngling interrupt our session. I don't know how he got on in the ship. In any case,
keep him away from Anakin.
Yes. Just how these organizations that Palpatine set up, like he creates this tension between them on purpose to secure power, which is also a typical tyrannical thing to do, so that no one tries to usurp you. But when you go away, it's a recipe for having your empire fall apart with infighting.
Absolutely,
is what we see happen.
Yeah, it's funny, like the strength of the institutions that he created was the downfall of it, because it created like all these powerful factions within the empire, right? That could actually compete and try and fill that vacuum.
Yeah, exactly.
He didn't set up like a
clear line of succession.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Although I do wonder if Vader had survived, if he would just be the natural.
Yeah, I think obviously he would be.
Also being the strong man that he is, he would just like brutally punish anyone that tried to usurp him.
He'd probably have like some sort of, because Vader is almost more of like a military leader, right? And not a political one, but he'd have probably some sort of junta or something like that.
Yeah,
and
group of
a military dictatorship. Yeah.
It might even be more brutal.
Yeah. Well, maybe
less conniving.
No, had he been redeemed? Okay.
Yeah. Well, now we're getting into like I'm thinking of Vader
Alt
say
histories.
dark. Yes.
So I've been talking about alt histories in the Discord.
That's
My
what
wheels
we're
are turning.
Yeah.
I want to do Star Wars alt history. So okay.
Maybe we'll do an episode or two.
Yeah. Anyways, if other people have ideas for a Star Wars alt history,
Send them our way.
Yeah, we should definitely do them.
And of course, giant intelligence apparatuses have never gone rogue and never get.
Of course they don't. Yeah, they're totally benevolent and benign.
Yes.
So.
As far back as the Praetorian Guard, who totally did not assassinate their own emperors and secretly rule from behind the scenes.
Absolutely.
And on that note, what do you say we get out of here and avoid detection by any Imperial agents that might be listening?
Absolutely.